You don't have to be loud to be heard. You don't have to be flashy to be seen. In fact, the most magnetic people are the ones who make others feel seen. They ask questions. They listen with intent. They make you feel like you matter. That's the kind of presence that draws people in. It's not about being the center of attention. It's about giving others your attention. And when you master that, people will be drawn to you, not because you need them, but because they feel better when they're around you. Subscribe to our channel if you're ready to master your mind. And tell us, where are you watching from? Listen carefully. Behind every complaint, every conflict, every conversation, there is a desire to feel seen. When you understand this, your influence begins. I've spent decades studying human nature. I've watched thousands of people struggle with relationships, with leadership, with simply getting along. And what I've discovered is this. Every human interaction is driven by one fundamental need, the need to matter. Think about the last argument you had. Strip away the surface issue, the money, the schedule, the decision that needed to be made. What was really happening? Someone felt unheard. Someone felt dismissed. Someone felt like their perspective didn't count. The clerk who's rude to you isn't having a bad day because of you. They're having a bad day because nobody, not their boss, not their customers, not even their family, has made them feel valued in weeks. The friend who suddenly becomes distant isn't pulling away because they don't like you anymore. They're pulling away because somewhere along the line they stopped feeling important in your world. Here's what most people don't understand. We think influence comes from being impressive. We think charisma means being the most interesting person in the room. We think leadership means having all the answers. We're wrong. Real influence comes from making others feel significant. True charisma means being genuinely interested in other people. Authentic leadership means helping others feel capable and valued. Every person you meet is wearing an invisible sign around their neck. It reads, "Make me feel important." When you learn to see that sign, when you learn to respond to it, everything changes. Your coworker stops being difficult. Your spouse stops being defensive. Your children stop tuning you out, not because you've mastered some manipulation technique, but because you've recognized their deepest human need and chosen to meet it. The waiter who remembers your order, the boss who acknowledges your contribution in front of others, the friend who asks about that thing you mentioned last week. These people stand out because they make you feel seen. They make you feel like you matter. This isn't about flattery. This isn't about false praise or empty compliments. This is about genuine recognition of human worth. It's about seeing the person behind the role, the individual behind the interaction. When you walk into a room, you have a choice. You can focus on yourself, your comfort, your impression, your agenda. Or you can focus on others, their needs, their feelings, their worth. The first approach might get you noticed. The second approach will get you remembered. But let me ask you this. When was the last time someone made you feel truly important? Not flattered, not impressed, but genuinely valued as a human being. How did that feel? How did you respond to that person? That feeling, that's what you can give others. That response. That's the influence you can have. Most people are starving for recognition. They're desperate to feel significant. They're aching to matter to someone, anyone. When you become the person who sees them, who values them, who makes them feel important, you become unforgettable. This is where real influence begins, not with what you know, but with how you make people feel. Not with your achievements, but with your attention. Not with your brilliance, but with your humanity. Everyone wants to matter. When you help them feel that they do, you matter to them too. It's not charisma. It's not intelligence. It's the ability to make someone feel valued in your presence. That's the real superpower. We live in an age obsessed with the wrong things. We chase followers instead of building friendships. We measure success by likes instead of by lives we've touched. We think influence means having people listen to us, when true influence means listening to people. I want to tell you about a superpower that's been forgotten. It's not the kind you see in movies. It's not flashy or dramatic, But it's more powerful than any ability you can imagine. It's the power to make someone feel valued. Watch the people around you carefully. Really watch them. Notice how they light up when someone remembers their name. See how they lean in when someone asks about their day and actually waits for the answer. Observe how they change when someone treats their opinion as if it matters. This is the superpower in action. It's not complicated. It's not mysterious. But it's incredibly rare. Most people are so focused on themselves that they miss the profound impact they could have on others. They're thinking about what to say next instead of listening to what's being said now. They're worried about their own impression instead of focusing on the person in front of them. But here's what I've learned. The people who master this forgotten superpower become the most influential people in any room they enter. Think about the teacher who changed your life. I guarantee it wasn't because they were the smartest person you knew. It was because they made you feel like you mattered. They saw potential in you that you didn't see in yourself. They believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself. Think about the boss you'd follow anywhere. It wasn't because they were the most talented leader in the company. It was because they made you feel valued. They listened to your ideas. They trusted you with important tasks. They made you feel significant. Think about the friend you can talk to about anything. It's not because they have all the answers. It's because they make you feel heard. They don't judge. They don't try to fix everything. They just make you feel like your feelings matter. This superpower isn't about having charisma in the traditional sense. Charisma often focuses on drawing attention to yourself. This superpower focuses attention on others. It's not about being the smartest person in the room. Intelligence can intimidate and create distance. This superpower creates connection and closes gaps. It's not about being entertaining or funny or impressive. Those things are nice, but they're temporary. The feeling of being valued, that stays with people. That changes how they see themselves. That influences their entire life. Here's the truth that most people miss. Everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Everyone you encounter is carrying burdens you can't see. Everyone you interact with is hungry for recognition, for appreciation, for the simple acknowledgement that they matter. When you develop the superpower of making people feel valued, you're not just being nice. You're meeting a fundamental human need. You're providing something essential that most people aren't getting anywhere else. The executive who never gets recognition at home. The teenager who feels invisible at school. The elderly person who feels forgotten by the world. The cashier who gets treated like a machine instead of a human being. They're all starving for what you can give them. And here's the beautiful thing about this superpower. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. The more you focus on making others feel valued, the more natural it becomes. The more you practice seeing the worth in people, the easier it gets to spot it instantly. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you used this superpower intentionally? When did you make someone feel genuinely valued just for the sake of making them feel valued? This isn't about manipulation. This isn't about getting something in return. This is about recognizing that every person has inherent worth and choosing to acknowledge that worth in a world that often overlooks it. The superpower isn't in your words alone, though words matter. It's in your attention. It's in your genuine interest. It's in the way you make people feel when they're with you. This is the ability that will make you unforgettable. This is the skill that will open doors. This is the superpower that will transform not just your relationships, but your entire life. Everyone has this superpower within them. The question is, will you choose to develop it? Make me feel important. It's written on every heart. Ignore it and people withdraw. Respect it and they open up. This chapter teaches you how to see it and respond. If I could give you X-ray vision for just one day, I wouldn't use it to see through walls. I'd use it to show you what's written on every person's heart. The message is always the same. Make me feel important. The businesswoman rushing past you on the street. The teenager slumped in the corner. The man at the grocery store. The woman at the coffee shop. Your own family members at the dinner table. They're all wearing the same invisible sign. They're all carrying the same silent plea. Most people go through their entire lives without anyone truly seeing this sign. They feel invisible, unimportant, like they don't matter. And because they feel that way, they act in ways that push people away. They become defensive, distant, difficult. But here's what I've discovered. The moment you learn to see this invisible sign, the moment you learn to respond to it, everything changes. People transform before your eyes. The difficult become cooperative. The distant become warm. The defensive become open. Let me show you how to see it. Watch people's eyes when they're talking. Are they searching for understanding? Are they looking for validation? Most people aren't just sharing information when they speak. They're asking a question. Do I matter to you? Does what I'm saying have value? Listen to what people don't say. Behind every complaint is a desire to be heard. Behind every criticism is a need to feel significant. Behind every argument is someone who feels their perspective doesn't count. Notice how people respond when you remember details about their lives. See how they light up when you ask follow-up questions about something they mentioned weeks ago. Watch how they change when you treat their opinions with respect. Even when you disagree, the sign is always there. In the way someone's voice changes when they feel heard, and how they straighten up when someone asks their opinion. In the smile that spreads across their face when someone remembers their name. But here's what most people don't understand. You don't just see this sign once and you're done. Every person you meet is wearing it. Every conversation is an opportunity to respond to it. Every interaction is a chance to make someone feel important. The waiter taking your order isn't just doing a job. They're a person who matters. The receptionist at the doctor's office isn't just a voice on the phone. They're someone's daughter, someone's mother, someone who deserves to feel valued. Your spouse coming home from work isn't just sharing their day. They're asking you to see them, to care about their world, to make them feel significant in your life. Your children telling you about school aren't just reporting events. They're inviting you into their world, hoping you'll find them interesting, enough to pay attention. Here's the mistake most people make. They think responding to this sign means giving false praise or empty compliments. That's not what people want. They want genuine attention. They want to feel seen for who they really are. When someone shares something with you, don't just wait for your turn to talk. Really listen. Ask questions that show you're interested. Remember what they tell you, follow up later. Make them feel like what they shared mattered to you. When someone does something well, don't just think it, say it. Most people notice good things and keep them to themselves. The person who speaks appreciation out loud becomes unforgettable. When someone is struggling, don't just offer solutions. First, acknowledge their feelings. Make them feel understood before you try to help them fix things. The invisible sign isn't asking for much. It's not asking you to lie or manipulate or pretend to be someone you're not. It's asking you to recognize that every person has worth and to treat them accordingly. But let me ask you this. How often do you ignore this sign? How many people have you walked past without seeing their need to feel important? How many conversations have you had where you were thinking about yourself instead of focusing on them? Here's the truth. Every person who has ever made a lasting impression on you learned to see this invisible sign. They made you feel important. They made you feel like you mattered. That's why you remember them. Now it's your turn. Start looking for the sign. It's on every person you meet. And when you learn to respond to it consistently, you'll discover something amazing. You don't just make other people feel important. You become important to them. When you give someone your full attention, you give them dignity. Learn how to listen, not to reply, but to understand. In a world of endless distractions, your attention has become the rarest gift you can give. Yet most people scatter it like seeds in the wind, never realizing its power. I want you to think about the last time someone gave you their complete, undivided attention. No phone in their hand, no wandering eyes, no mental preparation for what they wanted to say next. just pure, focused attention on you and what you were sharing. How did that feel? How did you respond to that person? What did that attention do to your perception of them? That feeling. That's what you can give to every person you meet. That response, that's the influence you can have in every conversation. But here's what most people don't understand about attention. It's not just about looking at someone while they talk. Real attention goes deeper. It's about listening to understand, not to reply. It's about hearing not just the words, but the person behind them. Most people listen with an agenda. They're waiting for their turn to speak. They're formulating their response while the other person is still talking. They're judging, evaluating, preparing their counter-argument. This isn't listening. This is just waiting to talk. Real listening is different. Real listening is an act of service. When you listen to understand, you're putting aside your own thoughts, your own agenda, your own need to be heard, and you're focusing entirely on the other person. Watch what happens when you do this. The person across from you starts to relax. Their voice changes. They share more than they intended. They feel safe with you. They trust you. And they associate that feeling of being understood with being around you. This is how influence really works. Not through persuasion or manipulation, but through understanding. When someone feels truly heard by you, they don't just like you more. They like themselves more when they're with you. And that's a feeling they'll want to experience again and again. But here's the challenge. Giving someone your sincere attention requires sacrifice. It means putting your phone away. It means setting aside your own concerns for a moment. It means resisting the urge to interrupt with your own story or solution. Most people aren't willing to make this sacrifice. They want to be heard, but they don't want to do the work of hearing others. They want attention, but they don't want to give it. This is your opportunity. In a world where everyone is talking and few are listening, the person who truly hears others becomes precious. Here's how to listen with sincere attention. First, eliminate distractions. Put your phone face down. Turn away from your computer. Make your body language show that this person has your full focus. Second, listen for feelings, not just facts. When someone tells you about their day, they're not just reporting events. They're sharing their emotional experience. Listen for the frustration, the excitement, the worry, the joy. Third, ask questions that show you're following their story. How did that make you feel? What happened next? What are you thinking about doing? These questions show that you're not just hearing words, you're caring about their experience. Fourth, reflect back what you're hearing. It sounds like you're really frustrated with that situation. You seem excited about this opportunity. This shows that you're not just listening to their words, but understanding their world. Fifth, resist the urge to immediately offer solutions or share your own similar experience. Sometimes people just need to be heard. They need someone to witness their story without trying to fix it or top it. This kind of attention changes everything about a relationship. The spouse who feels truly heard stops nagging and starts sharing. The employee who feels understood becomes more engaged and productive. The friend who feels listened to becomes more loyal and trusting. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you gave someone this quality of attention? When did you listen to understand instead of listening to reply? Here's what I know. The people who master the art of sincere attention become the most trusted, most valued, most influential people in their circles. Not because they're the smartest or the most talented, but because they make others feel heard. In a noisy world, your attention is your superpower. Use it wisely. Give it generously. Watch how it transforms not just your relationships, but your entire life. The person who learns to listen with sincere attention doesn't just hear words, they hear hearts. And hearts once heard are forever grateful. Surface-level conversations keep people at arm's length. Thoughtful questions create trust. Influence begins with curiosity. Most conversations die at, "How are you?" and "Fine, thanks." We exchange pleasantries like business cards, quick, efficient, and ultimately meaningless. But what if I told you that the difference between being forgotten and being unforgettable often comes down to the questions you ask? The right question can transform a stranger into a friend, a colleague into an ally, a casual encounter into a meaningful connection. But most people ask the wrong questions. Or worse, they don't ask questions at all. Here's what I've learned. People are dying to be understood, but they're rarely given the chance. They walk through their days having the same shallow conversations with everyone they meet. How's work? How's the weather? How's the family? These aren't really questions, they're just social rituals. But when someone asks a question that shows genuine interest in who they are, not just what they do, everything changes. They light up, they lean in, they remember you. The power isn't in the answer you get. The power is in showing someone that they're worth asking about. Think about the questions that have been asked of you that made you feel most seen, most understood, most valued. I guarantee they weren't, "What do you do?" or "Where are you from?" They were questions that showed the person asking truly wanted to know you. What's been the best part of your day so far? What are you most excited about right now? What's something you've learned recently that surprised you? What's been on your mind lately? These questions do something remarkable. They shift the conversation from surface to substance. They move from facts to feelings. They transform small talk into real talk. But here's what most people don't understand. The question isn't what matters most. It's the curiosity behind it. It's the genuine interest in the person's answer. It's the follow-up questions that show you're really listening. When someone tells you they're excited about a new project, don't just nod and change the subject. Ask what makes it exciting. Ask how they got involved. Ask what they hope will happen. Show them that their excitement matters to you. When someone mentions they're dealing with a challenge, don't immediately jump to advice. Ask how it's affecting them. Ask what they've already tried. Ask what support they need. Show them that their struggle is worth your attention. Here's the mistake most people make. They think asking questions is about gathering information. That's not it at all. Asking questions is about giving people the gift of being interesting. Everyone has a story. Everyone has experiences, insights, dreams, fears that no one has ever asked them about. When you ask the right questions, you're inviting them to share the parts of themselves they rarely get to express. The accountant who dreams of writing a novel, the teacher who used to be in a band, the executive who builds furniture in their garage. These aren't just facts about people. These are the pieces of their identity that make them feel most alive. But here's what you have to understand. You can't fake curiosity. People can sense when your questions are genuine and when they're just going through the motions. Real curiosity comes from recognizing that every person you meet has something to teach you, something to share that you've never heard before. The person sitting next to you on the plane has lived a completely different life than you. They've faced challenges you've never imagined, celebrated victories you've never experienced, learned lessons you've never had to learn. Isn't that worth exploring? The colleague you see every day has dreams and fears and hopes that you know nothing about. They have a whole world of experiences that could surprise you, inspire you, teach you something new. Isn't that worth asking about? Your family members, the people you think you know best, are constantly growing, changing, experiencing new things. When was the last time you asked them a question that went beyond the surface? When did you last discover something about them that surprised you? Here's the truth. Most people feel invisible. They feel like no one really sees them, knows them, cares about their inner world. When you ask questions that show genuine interest in who they are, you make them feel visible. You make them feel like they matter. And when people feel like they matter to you, you matter to them. But let me ask you this. What questions could you ask today that would show someone you're genuinely interested in them as a person? What would you want to know about the people in your life that goes beyond what they do for a living or how their day went? The person who masters the art of asking better questions doesn't just have better conversations. They build better relationships. They create deeper connections. They become the kind of person others want to be around. Curiosity isn't just about getting answers. It's about giving people the experience of being worth asking about. A person's name is the sweetest sound to them. Forget it, and you fade. Remember it, and you rise in their mind. There's nothing quite like the moment when someone you've met only once or twice calls you by name weeks later. It stops you in your tracks. It makes you smile. It makes you feel important. And it makes that person unforgettable to you. Yet most people treat names like they're disposable information. They hear it, they use it once, and then it's gone. They convince themselves they're bad with names as if it's some unchangeable trait like eye color or height. But here's the truth. Remembering names isn't about having a good memory. It's about caring enough to make the effort. It's about recognizing that a person's name is their identity, their uniqueness, their individuality wrapped up in a word. When you forget someone's name, you're not just forgetting a word. You're telling them they weren't important enough for you to remember. You're saying they didn't make enough of an impression for you to hold on to the most basic piece of information about them. But when you remember their name, especially when they don't expect you to, you're sending a completely different message. You're telling them they mattered. You're showing them they made an impression. You're proving that they were worth remembering. I've watched this transformation happen thousands of times. The look of surprise and delight when someone hears their name from someone they didn't expect to remember them. The way they straighten up, smile, and suddenly become more engaged in the conversation. The name is the key that unlocks connection. But here's what most people don't understand. The magic isn't just in remembering the name. It's in using it. It's in the warmth that comes into your voice when you say it. It's in the way you make them feel special by making their name sound important. Good morning, Sarah. Thanks for your help, Michael. It's great to see you again. Patricia. These aren't just greetings, they're gifts. They're moments of recognition that lift people up and make them feel valued. Think about the people in your life who consistently use your name when they talk to you. How does it make you feel? There's something personal about it, something that creates connection. It's the difference between talking to someone and talking to you specifically. But here's the challenge. In our fast-paced world, we've forgotten the power of names. We hide behind email addresses and screen names. We communicate through text messages where names aren't necessary. We've lost the art of personal recognition. This is your opportunity. In a world where most people can't be bothered to remember names, the person who makes this effort stands out dramatically. Here's how to become unforgettable through names. First, when someone introduces themselves, really listen. Don't just wait for your turn to say your name. Focus on theirs. Repeat it back to them immediately. Nice to meet you, Jennifer. Second, use their name during the conversation, not excessively, but naturally. Jennifer, what do you think about that? That's a great point, Jennifer. This helps cement it in your memory and makes them feel acknowledged. Third, when you part ways, use their name again. It was great talking with you, Jennifer. I hope to see you again soon, Jennifer. This leaves them with the impression that they mattered enough for you to remember who they are. Fourth, if you meet them again, use their name immediately. Hello, Jennifer. How are you? Watch how their face lights up. Watch how they respond to you differently than they do to people who don't remember them. But here's what you must understand. This isn't a trick or a technique. This is about genuine respect for the person in front of you. Their name represents their identity, their story, their uniqueness. When you remember it, you're honoring that. Some people will tell you they're terrible with names. But I've never met anyone who was terrible with the names of people who were truly important to them. They remember their children's names. They remember their spouse's name. They remember their best friends' names. The truth is, we remember what we care about. When you start caring about the people you meet, really caring about them as individuals, their names become easier to remember. Here's the simple truth. A person's name is the most important word in their vocabulary. When you use it with warmth and sincerity, you're speaking their language. You're connecting with their identity. You're making them feel seen and valued. In a world full of strangers, be the person who remembers names. In a world full of casual interactions, be the person who makes others feel important. In a world where people feel invisible, be the person who sees them and calls them by name. Most people listen to respond, few listen to connect. This chapter teaches you how to reflect, affirm, and build trust with every word. The art of making people feel heard isn't about what you say, it's about how you respond to what they say. It's about the space you create for their thoughts, their feelings, their experiences to be acknowledged and valued. Most people think communication is about expressing themselves clearly, but the real masters of human connection understand that communication is about making others feel understood. Here's the difference. When someone shares something with you, your first instinct might be to relate it to your own experience. Oh, that reminds me of when or to offer immediate solutions. You know what you should do? Or to minimize their feelings. At least it's not as bad as, but none of these responses make the person feel heard. In fact, they often make them feel dismissed, unimportant, or misunderstood. When you want someone to feel truly heard, you have to resist these impulses. Instead, you reflect back what they've shared. You acknowledge their feelings. You validate their experience. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. When someone says, "I'm so frustrated with my job," most people respond with advice. Maybe you should look for something else. Or comparison. Yeah, work can be tough. Or their own story. I remember when I hated my job. But if you want them to feel heard, you reflect their feeling. It sounds like work is really getting to you right now. Or you ask for more understanding. What's making it so frustrating? Or you acknowledge their experience. That must be exhausting to deal with every day. See the difference? The first set of responses shifts the focus. The second set keeps the focus on them and their experience. It makes them feel like what they're going through matters to you. This isn't just being nice. This is strategic. When people feel heard by you, they trust you more. They open up to you more. They value your relationship more. They become more receptive to your ideas and more willing to support your goals. But here's what most people miss. Feeling heard isn't just about having someone listen to your words. It's about having someone understand your world. It's about having someone acknowledge that your perspective, your feelings, your experience are valid and important. When you master this skill, something remarkable happens. People start seeking you out. They want to talk to you about their challenges, their dreams, their concerns. They trust you with their real thoughts, not just the surface-level things they share with everyone else. You become their safe space. You become the person they turn to when they need to process something important. And that kind of trust is invaluable. Here's how to make people feel genuinely heard. First, listen for the emotion behind their words. Don't just hear what happened. Hear how they feel about what happened. Are they excited, worried, frustrated, hopeful, disappointed, proud? Second, reflect that emotion back to them. You sound really excited about this opportunity. It seems like this situation has you worried. I can hear how proud you are of what you accomplished. Third, ask questions that show you want to understand their perspective better. What was that like for you? How did you handle that? What's going through your mind about all this? Fourth, validate their feelings without trying to fix them. That makes complete sense. Anyone would feel that way. Your feelings about this are totally understandable. Fifth, resist the urge to immediately share your own similar experience or offer solutions unless they specifically ask for advice. Sometimes people just need to be heard, not helped. But here's the key. This has to be genuine. You can't fake. Caring about someone's experience. People can sense when you're just going through the motions versus when you're genuinely interested in understanding their world. The person who masters the art of making others feel heard doesn't just have better conversations. They build deeper relationships. They earn greater trust. They become the kind of person others want to confide in, collaborate with, and support. But let me ask you this. Well, when was the last time you made someone feel truly heard? When did you resist the urge to relate everything back to yourself and instead focused entirely on understanding their experience. In a world where everyone is fighting to be heard, be the person who makes others feel heard. In a world where everyone wants to be understood, be the person who seeks to understand. The most influential people aren't the best talkers, they're the best listeners. They're the people who make others feel valued, understood, and heard. Trying to be impressive makes you forgettable. Showing interest makes you magnetic. Here's how to shift the spotlight. Most people have it backwards. They think the way to be memorable is to be memorable. They try to be the most interesting person in the room. They share their achievements, tell their best stories, showcase their knowledge, and wonder why people don't seem drawn to them. Here's what they don't understand. People aren't drawn to interesting people. People are drawn to people who are interested in them. Think about the people you most enjoy being around. I guarantee it's not because they're the most accomplished, the most entertaining, or the most impressive. It's because they make you feel interesting. They make you feel like you have something valuable to contribute. They make you feel important. The person who spends the entire conversation talking about their travels, their achievements, their opinions, might seem fascinating at first, but after a while you realize something. This isn't a conversation. It's a performance, and you're just the audience. But the person who asks about your experiences, who wants to hear your thoughts, who shows genuine curiosity about your life, that person makes you feel engaged. They make you feel valued. They make you want to be around them more. This is the secret that most people miss. The spotlight isn't attractive. Being in the spotlight is attractive. And the fastest way to put someone in the spotlight is to shine it on them, not on yourself. When you meet someone new, resist the urge to impress them with your accomplishments. Instead, be impressed by theirs. Don't try to prove how interesting you are. Prove how interested you are in them. Ask about their work, not just what they do, but what they love about it. Ask about their interests, not just what they enjoy, but why they enjoy it. Ask about their experiences, not just what happened, but how it affected them. But here's what most people don't understand. Being interested isn't just about asking questions. It's about being genuinely curious about the answers. It's about following up with thoughtful responses. It's about remembering what they tell you and referring back to it later. When someone tells you they're learning to play guitar, don't just say, "That's cool," and move on. Ask what made them want to start. Ask what kind of music they're learning. Ask how it's going. Ask if they're enjoying it more or less than they expected. When someone mentions they just got back from vacation, don't just ask if they had fun. Ask what the highlight was. Ask if there was anything that surprised them. Ask if it was the kind of trip they want to take again. This level of interest does something remarkable to people. It makes them feel like they matter. It makes them feel like their experiences are worth hearing about. It makes them feel important. And when people feel important around you, you become important to them. But here's the challenge. In our self-focused world, showing genuine interest in others has become a rare skill. Most people are so worried about their own image, their own impression, their own agenda, that they forget to be curious about anyone else. This is your opportunity. When everyone else is trying to be impressive, you can stand out by being impressed. When everyone else is trying to be interesting, you can be magnetic by being interested. The executive who asks the security guard about his family, the customer who remembers the barista's name and asks how her day is going, the dinner guest who wants to hear everyone's opinion before sharing their own. These people don't need to be the smartest or most accomplished in the room. They're the most memorable because they make others feel memorable. Here's what I want you to understand. This isn't about being fake or manipulative. This is about recognizing that every person you meet has a unique story, valuable experiences, and interesting perspectives. Your job isn't to compete with that. Your job is to discover it. Everyone has something they're passionate about. Everyone has experiences that have shaped them. Everyone has insights that come from their unique perspective on life. When you approach people with genuine curiosity about these things, you're not just being polite. You're being human. The person who masters this skill doesn't just have more friends. They have better relationships. They don't just know more people. They know people more deeply. They don't just make a good impression. They make a lasting impact. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you had a conversation where you focused more on learning about the other person than on sharing about yourself? When did you last make someone feel interesting instead of trying to be interesting yourself? Here's the truth. The most magnetic people aren't the ones who shine the brightest. They're the ones who help others shine. They're not the most interesting people in the room. They're the most interested. In a world full of people trying to impress, be the person who is impressed. In a world full of people trying to be heard, be the person who listens. In a world full of people trying to be interesting, be the person who finds others interesting. That's where real influence begins. That's where lasting connections are made. That's how you become the person everyone wants to know. When you're with someone, be with them fully. That kind of presence is rare and unforgettable. In a world of constant distractions, your full presence has become the ultimate gift. Yet most people give it so rarely that when someone does, it's shocking. It's memorable. It's transformative. Think about the last time someone made you feel like you were the only person in the room. No checking their phone, no looking over your shoulder to see who else was around, no mental distraction or agenda, just complete focused attention on you and what you were sharing. How did that feel? How did it change your perception of that person? How did it affect your desire to be around them again? That feeling, that's what you can give to every person you encounter. That impact, that's the influence you can have in every interaction. But here's what most people don't realize. The ability to make someone feel like the only person in the room isn't about charisma or personality. It's about choice. It's about consciously deciding to be fully present with whoever is in front of you. Most people are physically present, but mentally absent. They're there in body, but not in spirit. They're looking at you while thinking about their next meeting, their dinner plans, their problems at home. They're hearing your words while planning their response. This divided attention is the norm. It's what people have come to expect, which is exactly why full presence is so powerful. When you give someone your complete attention, when you make them feel like the most important person in the world for that moment, you're giving them something they rarely receive. You're making them feel valued in a way that most people never do. But here's the challenge. True presence requires sacrifice. It means putting aside your own concerns, your own agenda, your own need to multitask. It means being willing to invest your most valuable resource, your attention, in another person without expecting anything in return. Most people aren't willing to make this sacrifice. They want the benefits of deep connection without the cost of focused attention. They want to be remembered without being fully present. They want to influence others without investing in them. This unwillingness creates your opportunity. Here's how to make someone feel like the only person in the room. First, eliminate distractions before the conversation even begins. Put your phone away, not just face down, but completely out of sight. Close your laptop. Clear your mind of other tasks. Make a conscious decision to be fully present. Second, use your body language to show engagement. Face the person directly. Make eye contact. Lean in slightly. Show through your posture that you're invested in what they're saying. Third, listen not just to their words, but to their entire message. Pay attention to their tone, their emotions, their body language. Listen for what they're not saying as much as what they are saying. Fourth, respond in ways that show you're tracking with them. Nod when appropriate. Ask follow-up questions. Reflect back what you're hearing. Show that you're not just present physically, but engaged mentally and emotionally. Fifth, resist the urge to multitask, even mentally. Don't plan your response while they're talking. Don't think about other things you need to do. Give them the gift of your undivided attention. But here's what you need to understand. This level of presence changes you as much as it changes them. When you're fully present with someone, you see them more clearly. You understand them more deeply. You connect with them more authentically. The executive who puts aside their phone to really listen to their employee discovers insights they never would have gained otherwise. The parent who gives their child complete attention learns things about them that transform their relationship. The friend who is fully present in conversation builds bonds that last a lifetime. This isn't just about being polite or professional. This is about recognizing the profound impact you can have on someone's day, their mood, their perception of themselves, simply by giving them your full attention. In a world where most people feel ignored, overlooked, or invisible, the person who makes others feel seen stands out dramatically. They don't just leave a good impression. They leave a lasting impression. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you made someone feel like the only person in the room? When did you give someone your complete, undivided attention without any agenda or distraction? Here's the truth. The people who master this skill don't just have better relationships. They become magnets for others. People seek them out, trust them more, and value their presence because they know they'll be truly seen and heard. The ability to make someone feel like the only person in the room isn't a talent you're born with. It's a skill you develop through practice and intention. It's a choice you make in every interaction. In a distracted world, be present. In a scattered world, be focused. In a world where everyone is trying to get attention, be the person who gives attention. That's how you become unforgettable. That's how you create real influence. That's how you transform ordinary interactions into extraordinary connections. You don't need to prove you're right. You need to prove you care. Influence comes not from debate, but from respect. Here's a truth that most people learn too late. You can win every argument and lose every relationship. You can be right about everything and wrong about what matters most. The desire to be right is one of the strongest human drives. When someone disagrees with us, our instinct is to prove them wrong. We marshal our facts, sharpen our logic, and prepare for battle. We think influence comes from superior reasoning and stronger evidence. But here's what decades of studying human nature has taught me. People don't change their minds because they lose an argument. They change their minds when they feel understood, respected, and valued by the person who disagrees with them. Think about the last time someone changed your mind about something important. Was it because they demolished your argument and proved you wrong? Or was it because they listened to your perspective, acknowledged your concerns, and helped you see things from a new angle without making you feel foolish for your previous position? People who truly influence others don't win arguments. They win hearts. They don't prove the other person wrong. They help the other person discover new possibilities. When you encounter disagreement, you have a choice. You can focus on being right, or you can focus on building the relationship. You can prioritize your position, or you can prioritize the person. You can win the debate, or you can win their trust. Most people choose the first option. They see disagreement as a battle to be won rather than an opportunity to understand. They focus on proving their point rather than finding common ground. They value being right more than being effective. This approach might give you the satisfaction of victory, but it rarely gives you influence. When you defeat someone's argument, you might change their words, but you rarely change their heart. They might stop disagreeing with you publicly, but they'll continue disagreeing with you privately. But when you approach disagreement with respect, when you seek to understand before seeking to be understood, something remarkable happens. The other person's defenses come down. They become more open to your perspective. They start to trust your motives. Here's how to win hearts instead of arguments. First, acknowledge their perspective before sharing your own. I can see why you feel that way. That's an interesting point. I understand your concerns about this. This doesn't mean you agree with them. It means you respect their right to their opinion. Second, find common ground before exploring differences. We both want what's best for the company. We both care about our children's future. We both want this project to succeed. Start with what you share, not what divides you. Third, ask questions that help you understand their position better. What experiences led you to that conclusion? What concerns you most about my suggestion? What would need to be true for you to feel comfortable with this approach? Show genuine curiosity about their reasoning. Fourth, present your perspective as an addition to the conversation, not a replacement for their view. Here's another way to look at it. Have you considered this angle? What if we also thought about this aspect? This invites exploration rather than demanding surrender. Fifth, look for solutions that honor both perspectives. How can we address your concerns while still moving forward? What would a compromise look like that we could both support? Is there a way to incorporate both of our ideas? But here's what you must understand. This approach requires genuine respect for the other person. You can't fake caring about their perspective. You can't pretend to value their input while secretly planning to prove them wrong. People can sense when your interest in their view is authentic versus when it's strategic. The goal isn't to manipulate them into agreeing with you. The goal is to find the truth together, to discover the best solution together, to maintain the relationship while navigating the disagreement. When you master this approach, something amazing happens. People start coming to you with their concerns instead of going around you. They trust you to listen fairly and work towards solutions that consider everyone's needs. They see you as someone who cares about them, not just about being right, but. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you chose to win a heart instead of an argument? When did you prioritize understanding someone's perspective over proving your own point? Here's the truth. The people with the most influence aren't the ones with the strongest arguments. They're the ones with the strongest relationships. They don't convince people through superior logic. They influence people through genuine respect. In a world full of people trying to prove they're right, be the person who proves they care. In a world full of people fighting to win arguments, be the person who works to win hearts. That's where real influence begins. That's how lasting change happens. That's how you become someone whose opinion actually matters, not because you force it on others, but because others trust you to consider their perspective too. Confidence is contagious. When you believe in someone, they start to believe in themselves. Here's how to become that mirror. The most powerful gift you can give another person isn't advice, money, or connections. It's belief. When you genuinely believe in someone's ability to succeed, to grow, to overcome challenges, you plant a seed of confidence that can change their entire life. Most people do the opposite. They focus on what's wrong, what's missing, what needs to be fixed. They point out mistakes, highlight weaknesses, and offer criticism disguised as help. They think they're being helpful, but they're actually being harmful. Here's what I've learned. People don't rise to meet low expectations. They rise to meet high ones. When you see potential in someone and communicate that belief clearly, they start to see it too. When you treat someone as capable, they become more capable. Think about the people who have had the greatest positive impact on your life. I guarantee they weren't the ones who constantly criticized you or focused on your flaws. They were the ones who saw something in you that maybe you didn't even see in yourself. They believed in your potential and communicated that belief in ways that made you want to live up to it. That teacher who said you had a gift for writing. That boss who trusted you with important responsibilities before you felt ready. That friend who encouraged you to pursue a dream when everyone else said it was unrealistic. These people didn't just support you. They helped you become who you are today. You have the power to be that person for others. But here's what most people don't understand. Making others feel capable isn't about false praise or empty encouragement. It's about seeing genuine potential and helping others see it too. It's about focusing on strengths rather than dwelling on weaknesses. It's about building people up instead of tearing them down. When someone makes a mistake, you have a choice. You can focus on what they did wrong, or you can focus on what they can learn. You can highlight their failure, or you can reinforce their ability to improve. You can make them feel incapable, or you can help them feel capable of doing better. Next time, the manager who says, "You messed this up again," creates shame and defensiveness. The manager who says, "I know you can handle this," What do you think went wrong and how can we prevent it next time? Creates learning and confidence. The parent who says, "You're terrible at math," creates a fixed mindset and low expectations. The parent who says, "Math is challenging for you right now, but I've seen how hard you work when you're determined," creates growth mindset and hope. The friend who says, "You always make bad decisions," creates self-doubt and insecurity. The friend who says, "I trust your judgment. What's your gut telling you about this?" creates confidence and self-reliance. Here's how to make others feel capable. First, focus on their strengths and potential rather than their current limitations. Look for what they do well and acknowledge it specifically. You have a real talent for connecting with people. You're incredibly creative when you put your mind to something. You have great instincts about these situations. Second, express confidence in their ability to grow and improve. I know you can figure this out. You have what it takes to succeed at this. I believe in your ability to handle whatever comes up. This isn't blind optimism. It's strategic encouragement. Third, give them opportunities to succeed and stretch themselves. Don't just tell them they're capable. Show them by trusting them with meaningful responsibilities. Let them know you believe in them by acting on that belief. Fourth, when they face challenges, remind them of past successes. Remember how well you handled that difficult project last year? You've overcome bigger obstacles than this before. You have a track record of finding solutions when things get tough. Fifth, help them see their mistakes as learning opportunities rather than failures. What did this experience teach you? How will you approach it differently next time? What strengths can you use to handle this better in the future? But here's the key. This has to be genuine. You can't fake belief in someone. People can sense when your encouragement is real versus when it's just something you think you should say. You have to genuinely look for and find reasons to believe in them. The beautiful thing is, those reasons are always there. Every person has strengths, talents, and potential that often go unrecognized. Your job isn't to create these qualities. Your job is to notice them and help the person see them too. When you make others feel capable, something remarkable happens. They don't just perform better for you, they become better versions of themselves. They carry that confidence into other areas of their life. They start to see themselves as someone who can handle challenges, solve problems, and achieve goals. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you made someone feel genuinely capable? When did you help someone see potential in themselves that they might not have recognized? Here's the truth. The people who master this skill don't just help others succeed. They become the kind of leaders, friends, and family members that others turn to when they need support, guidance, and encouragement. When you believe in people, they start to believe in themselves. When you see their potential, they start to see it too. When you make them feel capable, they become more capable. That's the power of belief. That's the impact of encouragement. That's how you become someone who changes lives. We live in a world starved of affirmation, a kind word, a thoughtful compliment. These are tools of real leadership. Look around you. Really look. You'll see people everywhere who are quietly struggling, silently doubting themselves, secretly wondering if they matter. They go through their days performing their roles, worker, parent, friend, spouse, but underneath, they're asking the same questions. Am I good enough? Do I matter? Is what I'm doing making a difference? Most of these people will never ask these questions out loud. They'll never admit their insecurities or voice their doubts. But the need for encouragement shows up in 1,000 small ways. In the way someone's face lights up when you compliment their work, in how they stand a little taller when you acknowledge their contribution, in the energy that follows genuine affirmation. Here's what I've learned from decades of studying human nature. Encouragement isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. It's not something nice to give when you have extra time or energy. It's essential fuel for the human spirit. Yet most people are stingy with encouragement. They withhold it as if it costs them something to give it. They think words of affirmation should be rare, special, saved for extraordinary moments. They're wrong. Encouragement is free to give and priceless to receive. A single encouraging word can change someone's entire day. A thoughtful compliment can boost someone's confidence for weeks. Genuine affirmation can alter how someone sees themselves permanently. But here's what most people miss. Encouragement isn't just about making people feel good, it's about helping them perform better. When people feel appreciated and valued, they work harder, try more, risk more, give more. When they feel discouraged and undervalued, they shut down, hold back, play it safe. The employee who receives genuine encouragement from their boss doesn't just feel better about their job, they do their job better. The child who receives affirmation from their parents doesn't just feel more confident, they become more confident. The spouse who feels appreciated doesn't just feel more loved, they become more loving. This is the secret that great leaders understand. Encouragement isn't just kindness, it's strategy. It's not just about being nice, it's about bringing out the best in people. Think about the most encouraging person you know. How do they make you feel when you're around them? How do you perform when they're watching? How do you see yourself when you're in their presence? That person isn't just being pleasant, they're being powerful. They're influencing your behavior, your confidence, your willingness to try and grow. Here's how to become a source of genuine encouragement. First, look for authentic reasons to build people up. Don't manufacture compliments or offer false praise. Look for real strengths, genuine efforts, actual improvements, and acknowledge them specifically. Second, encourage the person, not just the performance. You handled that really well, is good. You have such a calm presence in difficult situations, is better. The first acknowledges what they did. The second affirms who they are. Third, encourage effort and growth, not just success. I can see how hard you're working on this means more than you're naturally talented at this. One recognizes their choice to try. The other suggests it's just luck or genetics. Fourth, be specific about what you appreciate. You're great is nice, but vague. You have an amazing ability to ask questions that help people think more deeply. Is specific and meaningful. It shows you've been paying attention and you see them clearly. Fifth, encourage privately and publicly. Sometimes a quiet word of affirmation is most meaningful. Sometimes public recognition has greater impact. Learn to read people and situations to know which approach serves them best. But here's what you must understand. Genuine encouragement requires you to see people clearly, to notice their strengths, their efforts, their growth, their value. You can't encourage what you don't see. You can't affirm what you don't recognize. This means paying attention. It means looking for the good in people instead of just focusing on problems and deficiencies. It means training yourself to spot potential, effort, improvement, and contribution. When you become skilled at this, something remarkable happens. People seek you out. They want to be around you because they feel better about themselves when they're with you. They trust you more because they know you see their value. They try harder because they know you notice their efforts. But here's the beautiful paradox. When you focus on encouraging others, you become more encouraged yourself. When you look for the good in people, you start to see more good in the world. When you build others up, you build yourself up too. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you gave someone genuine encouragement? When did you take the time to acknowledge not just what someone did, but who they are? When did you offer words that built someone up instead of just offering? Criticism or advice? Here's the truth. The world has enough critics. It has enough people pointing out problems and flaws. What it needs more of are encouragers, people who see the good, acknowledge the effort, and affirm the value in others. In a world that tears people down, be someone who builds them up. In a world that focuses on failures, be someone who celebrates efforts. In a world starved of affirmation, be generous with encouragement. That's how you become unforgettable. That's how you influence lives. That's how you leave people better than you found them. The person who uplifts without seeking the spotlight earns lifelong loyalty. Learn to lead from behind. There's a profound power in helping others succeed without needing recognition for your role in their success. It's counterintuitive in a world obsessed with personal branding and taking credit, but it's one of the most effective ways to build lasting influence and genuine relationships. Most people approach influence backwards. They try to get people to notice them, to acknowledge their contributions, to give them credit for their ideas. They want their name on the success story. They need others to know that they were the ones who made it happen. But here's what I've discovered. The people with the most real influence are often the ones whose names you'd never hear. They're the ones working behind the scenes, supporting others, enabling success, and letting other people take the credit. This isn't about being a doormat or allowing others to exploit your efforts. This is about understanding that true influence comes not from being seen as important, but from making others feel important. Not from taking credit, but from giving it away. Not from being in the spotlight, but from helping others shine. Think about the most influential person in your life. Someone who really shaped who you became. I guarantee it wasn't because they constantly reminded you of how much they were helping you. It was because they helped you feel capable, confident, and successful. They may have guided you, supported you, and made your success possible, but they let you feel like the hero of your own story. That's the secret of influence without credit. You help people succeed and let them own that success. You provide the support, the guidance, the encouragement, the opportunities, and then you step back and let them take the ball. When you do this consistently, something remarkable happens. People don't forget who helped them. They don't forget who believed in them when others didn't. They don't forget who was there supporting them behind the scenes. And their gratitude runs deeper than any superficial recognition ever could. The manager who quietly removes obstacles for their team members then celebrates publicly when the team succeeds. The mentor who provides guidance and wisdom then watches proudly as their protege gets promoted. The friend who offers encouragement and support then cheers loudest when their friend achieves their goal. These people understand something that credit seekers miss. When you help someone succeed and let them have the glory, you earn something more valuable than recognition. You earn loyalty, trust, and genuine appreciation. Here's how to develop influence without needing credit. First, focus on outcomes rather than recognition. Ask yourself, do I want this project to succeed, or do I want to be seen as the reason it succeeded? Do I want this person to grow, or do I want credit for their growth? When you prioritize results over recognition, you make better decisions. Second, look for opportunities to make others look good. When someone on your team has a great idea, help them present it effectively. When a colleague does excellent work, make sure the right people know about it. When someone you've mentored achieves something significant, celebrate their accomplishment publicly. Third, provide support without strings attached. Don't help people with the expectation that they'll acknowledge your contribution later. Help them because their success matters to you, not because their gratitude matters to you. Fourth, share credit generously and take blame proportionally. When things go well, highlight others' contributions. When things go poorly, take responsibility for your part without throwing others under the bus. This builds trust and shows character. Fifth, measure your success by others' success. Instead of tracking how often you get recognized, track how often the people you support achieve their goals. Let their wins be your wins. But here's what you must understand. This approach requires genuine security and confidence. You have to be comfortable with your own worth without needing external validation. You have to be able to find satisfaction in contribution rather than recognition. This isn't always easy. We all have egos. We all want to be appreciated and acknowledged. But when you can put those needs aside for the greater good, when you can help others succeed and genuinely celebrate their success, you develop a different kind of power. People trust you more because they know you're not trying to steal their thunder. They're more willing to share opportunities with you because they know you won't try to take over. They seek your advice because they know you want what's best for them, not what's best for your reputation. The most powerful leaders often lead from behind. They create conditions for others to succeed. They provide the support, resources, and guidance that enable achievement. They influence outcomes without demanding recognition for their influence. But here's the beautiful irony. When you stop needing credit, you often end up getting more of it. When people feel safe sharing success with you, they naturally want to acknowledge your contribution. When you're secure enough to let others shine, they often insist on sharing the spotlight with you. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you helped someone succeed and let them have all the credit? When did you provide support or guidance that led to someone else's achievement, and you felt genuinely happy for them without needing recognition for your role? Here's the truth. The people with the deepest influence are those who empower others. They don't need their name on every success story because they know their influence is embedded in every person they've helped along the way. When you learn to influence without needing credit, you build something more valuable than a reputation. You build a legacy. You create a network of people who trust you, appreciate you, and want to support you, not because they owe you recognition, but because they genuinely value what you bring to their lives. That's the ultimate influence. Being someone whose success comes through enabling the success of others. You don't gain influence by proving you're better. You gain it by showing you're human. There's a misconception that influence comes from superiority, from being smarter, more accomplished, more impressive than everyone else. People think they need to establish dominance, prove their worth, or demonstrate their expertise to gain respect and influence others. They couldn't be more wrong. Real influence comes from connection, and connection comes from relatability. People aren't drawn to those who seem perfect or unreachable. They're drawn to those who seem real, genuine, and authentically human. Think about the people who have the most positive influence in your life. Are they the ones who never admit mistakes, never show vulnerability, never acknowledge their limitations? Or are they the ones who are confident enough to be humble, secure enough to be real, strong enough to show their humanity? The leader who admits when they don't know something and asks for help. The friend who owns their mistakes and apologizes sincerely. The teacher who shares their own struggles and shows how they overcame them. These people don't seem weak. They seem trustworthy. They don't seem incompetent. They seem authentic. Humility is not about thinking less of yourself. It's about thinking of yourself less. It's not about diminishing your capabilities. It's about recognizing that your capabilities don't make you better than anyone else. They just make you useful in different ways. When you lead with humility, people feel safe around you. They don't feel judged, intimidated, or diminished. They feel like they can be themselves, share their ideas, admit their own mistakes, and ask for help without fear of being looked down upon. But here's what most people miss. Humility isn't weakness. It's confidence. It takes real strength to admit you're wrong. It takes genuine security to acknowledge someone else's good idea. It takes true leadership to put others' needs ahead of your ego. Ego, on the other hand, is actually a sign of insecurity. When someone constantly needs to prove they're right, they're revealing their fear of being wrong. When they can't share credit, they're showing their scarcity mindset. When they can't admit mistakes, they're demonstrating their fragility. People can sense this insecurity, even when it's disguised as confidence. They feel the need to protect themselves around egotistical people. They hold back their ideas, their questions, their authentic selves, because they sense judgment and competition rather than acceptance and collaboration. Here's how humility attracts while ego repels. Humility invites contribution. Ego demands submission. Humility creates psychological safety. Ego creates defensiveness. Humility builds trust. Ego destroys it. Humility encourages growth. Ego stifles it. When you approach people with humility, you're sending a message. I don't have all the answers, and I value your perspective. I make mistakes, and I'm committed to learning from them. I'm successful, but I'm not superior. I'm confident, but I'm not arrogant. This message creates space for real relationship. People feel like they can contribute meaningfully to conversations. They feel like their ideas matter. They feel like they can be honest about their own struggles and limitations. But here's the paradox. When you stop trying to prove you're better than everyone else, people start to see you as better to be around than everyone else. When you stop demanding respect through superiority, you earn respect through authenticity. Here's how to develop authentic humility. First, acknowledge your mistakes quickly and completely. Don't make excuses or deflect blame. Own your errors, learn from them, and move forward. This shows strength, not weakness. Second, give credit generously. When success happens, highlight others' contributions. When good ideas emerge, acknowledge their source. When problems get solved, recognize the team effort. This shows security, not insecurity. Third, ask for help when you need it. Don't pretend to know everything or be capable of everything. Admitting your limitations and seeking support shows wisdom, not incompetence. Fourth, listen more than you speak. Show genuine interest in others' perspectives, experiences, and ideas. This demonstrates confidence, not uncertainty, about your own worth. Fifth, celebrate others' successes without making it about you. When someone achieves something great, be genuinely happy for them, without needing to relate it to your own accomplishments or take credit for their success. But here's what you must understand. True humility comes from a place of security, not insecurity. You have to be confident in your own worth to be comfortable acknowledging others' worth. You have to be secure in your abilities to admit your limitations. This is why humility is so attractive. People can sense the difference between someone who is humble because they're confident and someone who acts humble because they're insecure. The first attracts, the second repels, just as much as arrogance does. When you develop genuine humility, something powerful happens in your relationships. People start to trust you more because they know you're not trying to use them to feed your ego. They open up more because they don't feel judged. They perform better because they feel supported rather than threatened. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you admitted you were wrong about something significant? When did you acknowledge someone else's idea as better than your own? When did you ask for help with something you couldn't handle alone? Here's the truth. The most influential people aren't those who never need help. They're those who aren't afraid to ask for it. They're not those who never make mistakes. They're those who learn from them openly. They're not those who have all the answers. They're those who ask better questions. In a world full of people trying to prove they're better, be someone who proves they're real. In a world full of people protecting their image, be someone who shares their humanity. In a world full of ego, be humble. That's how you become someone others want to follow, support, and be around. Not because you're perfect, but because you're genuine. Not because you're superior, but because you're secure. Not because you have it all together, but because you're humble enough to keep growing. Before you speak a word, people feel your attitude. Calmness, warmth, confidence, they all walk into the room before you do. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. But here's what most people don't realize. Your first impression isn't your handshake, your smile, or your opening words. It's your energy. It's the invisible presence you carry that people feel the moment you enter their space. Long before you introduce yourself, people are already forming opinions about you based on the energy you project. Are you calm or anxious, confident or insecure, warm or cold, present or distracted, interested or self-absorbed? These qualities radiate from you like signals, and people pick them up instantly. Think about the last time you met someone who had great energy. You felt it immediately, didn't you? There was something about their presence that made you feel more comfortable, more engaged, more positive. You couldn't put your finger on exactly what it was, but you knew you wanted to be around them more. Now, Think about someone whose energy made you uncomfortable. Maybe they seemed anxious, negative, or self-centered. Maybe they felt needy, aggressive, or disconnected. Again, you felt this before they said much of anything. Their energy spoke louder than their words. This is the power of presence. Your energy precedes you, surrounds you, and follows you. It's the most honest communication you have because it's the hardest to fake. People might not believe your words, but they always believe your energy. Here's what most people don't understand. You have complete control over the energy you bring to every interaction. You can't always control your circumstances, but you can always choose your attitude. You can't always change what's happening around you, but you can change what's happening within you. The energy you project is the result of your internal state. When you're genuinely confident, people feel that confidence. When you're authentically calm, people feel that calmness. When you're truly interested in others, people feel that interest. When you're sincerely warm and caring, people feel that warmth. But here's the challenge. You can't fake good energy for long. You might be able to put on an act for a few minutes, but your real internal state will eventually show through. If you're feeling anxious, frustrated, or self-centered inside, that will come across no matter how hard you try to hide it. This means developing good energy isn't about learning to act differently. It's about learning to be different. It's about cultivating the internal qualities that naturally project positive energy. Here's how to develop energy that attracts. First, cultivate genuine confidence. Not arrogance or superiority, but quiet confidence in your own worth and abilities. When you're secure in who you are, people feel that security and find it attractive. Second, develop authentic warmth. Care about people genuinely. Be interested in their well-being, their success, their happiness. When you truly care about others, they feel that care and are drawn to it. Third, practice being present. When you're with someone, be with them fully. Put aside your other concerns, your mental to-do list, your phone, your agenda. When people feel like they have your complete attention, they feel valued. Fourth, maintain emotional equilibrium. Don't let external circumstances control your internal state. Stay calm under pressure. Remain positive in difficult situations. Keep your composure when others lose theirs. This stability is magnetic to people who are struggling with their own emotional ups and downs. Fifth, approach interactions with curiosity rather than judgment. Be interested in learning about people rather than evaluating them. When people feel like you're genuinely curious about them rather than judging them, they open up and engage more freely. But here's what you must understand. Good energy isn't something you turn on for important meetings or special occasions. It's something you develop as a way of being. It becomes part of who you are, not just something you do. The person with consistently positive energy doesn't just attract people in professional settings. They attract people everywhere. The grocery store clerk engages with them more. The waiter provides better service. Strangers are more helpful. Children and animals gravitate toward them. They seem to have better luck, but it's not luck, it's energy. When you develop this kind of magnetic presence, opportunities come to you more easily. People want to work with you, be around you, include you. Not because of what you can do for them, but because of how you make them feel. But here's the beautiful thing about positive energy. It's contagious. When you bring good energy to an interaction, you often elevate the energy of everyone involved. You make meetings more productive, conversations more engaging, and relationships more positive. People leave interactions with you feeling better than when they arrived. They associate that good feeling with you, and they want to experience it again. But let me ask you this. What energy are you bringing to your interactions? How do people feel when you walk into a room? What internal state are you cultivating? And how is it affecting those around you? Here's the truth. Your energy is your most powerful communication tool. It's more influential than your words, more memorable than your appearance, more important than your credentials. It's the foundation upon which all your other influence is built. People may forget what you said or what you did, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And how you make them feel starts with the energy you bring to every encounter. In no sense, a world full of negative energy, be a source of positive energy. In a world full of anxiety and stress, be a source of calm and confidence. In a world full of self-absorption, be a source of genuine care and interest in others. That's how you become magnetic. That's how you attract opportunities, relationships, and success. That's how you become someone people want to be around, work with, and support. This is the real legacy. Not titles, not achievements, but the way people feel after they've been around you. At the end of your life, when all is said and done, there will be only one question that really matters. Did you leave people better than you found them? Not richer, not more successful, not more informed, but better, more confident, more hopeful, more valued, more human. This is the ultimate measure of a life well lived, not the positions you held, or the wealth you accumulated, or the recognition you received, but the way you affected the people whose lives intersected with yours. The difference you made in their sense of themselves, their belief in their possibilities, their faith in humanity. Every person you encounter is carrying invisible burdens. They're fighting battles you know nothing about. They're struggling with doubts, fears, and insecurities that they'll never voice. They're hoping for encouragement, validation, and connection that they may never ask for directly. You have the power to lighten their load. You have the ability to add something positive to their day, their week, their life. You can choose to be someone who makes people feel better about themselves and more hopeful about their future. This isn't about grand gestures or life-changing interventions. It's about the accumulation of small moments of kindness, respect, and genuine care. It's about the smile that brightens someone's morning, the word of encouragement that carries them through a difficult day, the moment of being truly seen and heard that reminds them they matter, the cashier who has been dealing with rude customers all day. You can be the person who treats them with kindness and respect. The colleague who is struggling with self-doubt, you can be the one who acknowledges their strengths and potential. The friend who's going through a hard time, you can be the presence that reminds them they're not alone. Every interaction is an opportunity to leave someone better than you found them. Every conversation is a chance to add value to someone's life. Every encounter is a moment to practice the principles that truly matter. Seeing people's worth, acknowledging their humanity, and treating them with the dignity every person deserves. But here's what this requires. It requires you to look beyond yourself, to care about something bigger than your own needs, your own agenda, your own impression. It requires you to recognize that your life is measured not by what you get, but by what you give, not by how you feel, but by how you make others feel. This is the hardest and most important work of being human. It's harder than achieving success, accumulating wealth, or gaining recognition. It requires constant awareness, intentional choice, and genuine care for others. But it's also the most meaningful work you can do. When you commit to leaving people better than you found them, you transform not just their lives, but your own. You discover that the secret to happiness isn't getting what you want. It's helping others feel valued. The secret to fulfillment isn't achieving your goals. It's helping others believe in theirs. The secret to a meaningful life isn't what you accomplish. It's how you treat people along the way. Here's how to make this your daily practice. Start each day with the intention to make at least one person feel better about themselves. Look for opportunities to encourage, appreciate, or support someone. Notice when people are struggling and offer kindness without being asked. Remember that small gestures matter enormously. The text message that says, "I was thinking about you." The compliment that acknowledges someone's effort. The moment of patience when someone is having a difficult time. The genuine interest in someone's story. These small acts create ripples that extend far beyond what you can see. Listen with the intention to understand, not to impress. Speak with the intention to build up, not to tear down. Act with the intention to serve, not to be served. Choose responses that bring out the best in people, rather than reactions that bring out the worst. But here's the beautiful truth about this approach to life. When you focus on leaving others better than you found them, you become better yourself. When you practice seeing the good in people, you develop a more positive outlook on life. When you choose kindness consistently, you become a kinder person. When you make others feel valued, you discover your own value. The people who master this art don't just have better relationships, they have better lives. They don't just influence others positively, they experience more joy, meaning, and satisfaction themselves. They don't just leave others better, they become better in the process. But let me ask you this. How do people feel after they've spent time with you? Do they walk away feeling encouraged or discouraged, valued or diminished? More. Confident or less confident? More hopeful or more worried? This is your legacy. Not what you achieved, but how you treated people. Not what you accumulated, but what you contributed. Not what you got, but what you gave. Not how successful you were, but how much you helped. Others feel successful too. Here's the challenge for the rest of your life. Measure your days not by what you accomplished, but by how you affected the people around you. Judge your success not by your achievements, but by whether you left people better than you found them. This is the difference between a life that matters and a life that simply happened. Between a legacy that lasts and achievements that are forgotten. Between influence that transforms and power that only impresses. You already have everything you need to leave people better than you found them. You have attention to give, kindness to offer, and encouragement to share. You have the ability to see people's worth and reflect it back to them. You have the power to make someone's day better simply by caring about them as a human being. The question isn't whether you can do this. The question is whether you will. Will you choose to be someone who makes the world a little brighter for having been in it? Will you commit to leaving every person better than you found them? That's the real legacy. That's what truly matters. That's how you become the person everyone wants to know, not because you're impressive, but because you make others feel important. Not because you're perfect, but because you care about people perfectly.